Yeah.
So I'm a huge proponent of CBD, a natural anti-inflammatory, anti-anxiety, pain reliever, amongst many other
Holy
things.
shit, I need all of those things.
You need all of those things, honestly, in addition to a combination of a lot of water, especially up here in the dry climate and high altitude.
Red wine works. It's the same as water.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, the Romans didn't conquer the Western world on water.
But no, if I were to recommend a few products, starting on 1906, which is standing right here next to me, they have a product called Chill, which is a 5 THC, 5 milligram THC, 25 milligram CBD product.
Get in here. Don't be shy. You want to get on the podcast too?
That is a super amazing product, delicious chocolate. All 1906 products are going to be infused with botanical extracts that help increase the effects of that specific product. The next best thing that I would recommend.
You were going to smoke something. Like, I like to smoke stuff. I'd smoke a rabbit if you could keep it lit.
But in terms of flower, I definitely recommend we grow an amazing Harlequin. It's going to be a 2-to-1 ratio of CBD to THC, sitting at about 12% CBD and 6% THC.
That Margot Robbie, huh?
Yeah, it's delicious, super floral, sweet, fruity flavors, and the high is very euphoric and really great for exactly how you're feeling right now.
Okay,
I didn't say I felt bad. I just said how it looked. That's fucked up, man.
So are you a sativa or more of an indica?
I do it all. It really depends on what time of day it is. If I'm out and about, I'm enjoying nature, and I'm hiking about the world, I'm definitely a sativa person. I like to smoke our Lilac Diesel or our OG Lime Killer are some of my favorite sativas.
Who comes up with these names?
We were talking about this the other day. Who makes the classifications here?
Scientists.
No.
That's what I was it's a combination of different things, all the different strains that have developed over the years, and then different proprietary blends based on different phenotypes that are more prominent in one strain or another. Have a wonderful day, man.
What if you get?
Look at that! He greets everybody on the way in and out. Sorry.
How do people know that it's that exact strain that they're getting? Like, what if somebody just says, "Oh, this is OG Kush" or something, and how do you know?
Well, in the past, that's always been a big thing, but nowadays the knowledge of consumption and different types, flavors, and effects in the cannabis industry is so well known that you probably wouldn't make it a couple weeks claiming a strain before somebody called you out.
All right, time out. I have some words. I want to know if they're still cool in the game.
Yeah, of course. Let's get back to the semantics.
Do people say kind bud?
People don't really refer to it as kind bud.
That's fucked up.
Hey, well,
that was all back in the day.
I was going to say that's an East Coast thing too. Kind bud.
All right.
Colorado was never really a big term in Colorado, actually.
What about loud? You got that loud?
Yeah. Loud is definitely loud. Gas, which
gas. That was going to be on my list.
Yeah.
That fire, exactly.
But a lot of these have different connotations. For example, gas now refers a lot to floral.
Huff and nitrous.
No, refers to flowers that have more earthy tones, different terpene profiles, flowers like our root beer float or GG number 4, formerly known as Gorilla Glue or Chemdog. Those are all flowers with a earthy petrol flavor. Those are the gas.
All right, I like it. So let me ask you. I see we have a refrigerator here full of drinks. How many of those could you chug before you just fall over and pass out?
I don't recommend chugging anything.
If one was going to be like, I bet you I could drink a 6-pack of these soda pops.
If I was gonna chug anything, I would chug probably one of the single serving root beer, the Bubba Kush root beers, and I highly recommend pouring it over a scoop of vanilla ice cream. Make it a Bubba Kush root beer float, one of the best desserts in the market.
So I know you're a big follower of our podcast and love No Vacancy Colorado, and so we do Stoned Appetit, and so that sounds like we like to ask, after you have a long night, or in this case, let's say you worked all fucking day and you just want to go home and roast a bone and kind of figure out what's the guilty pleasure snack.
Oh, man. Well, my guilty pleasure snack, if it's the end of the day and I'm looking for something to just kick back and take that edge off, it's either going to be the 1906 Bliss Cups, actually.
Ooh, nice plug there. I like that.
Yeah.
Well done.
Or we have a drink from this company called Legal, which is produced from Mirth Provisions, which is actually a company out of of the Pacific Northwest.
Nice.
And they have a strawberry ginger sparkling beverage. It's a 20 milligram THC sparkling beverage that is delicious. And if I'm just end of the day kicking it, I want something delicious, sweet, that's going to set me in. That's one of my go-tos right there. Man. Plus a nice refreshing drink. I like my alcohol, but if I could drink THC over alcohol, I'd do it every day.
Okay, but now, so that brought up a point. Like, I hear that CBD is getting big in actually like cocktail bars now. Like, they're using them in their cocktails and things like that. Is like the marijuana industry starting to like kind of make CBD type tinctures and stuff for cocktail making?
So I'm sure there are companies that have started to develop that. The main difference is that they're not going to be companies that would be associated with dispensaries. These are companies that would be more street level CBD. Which in its own, you have to you always want to be looking for the highest quality street level CBD if you're ever going to do that. I
got a good street guy, don't worry.
Yeah, good street guy. Yeah, exactly. I mean, be wary of gas station CBD. You never really know what's in that kind of stuff.
What world are we living in?
We live in a gas station literally 35 feet from here at the Come and Go right next to us. You could probably get a CBD gummy, but if you were to be getting a product like that, there are companies that do really high quality. If I was going to be getting a CBD product that wasn't from a dispensary, I would be looking to get a full spectrum CBD oil or something derived from that. That way you can ensure a wide spectrum of cannabinoids and naturally occurring cannabinoids in your tincture, and not so much CBD distillate, which doesn't have as much effectiveness for us.
Nice. Okay, so and this is going to piggyback on Chris's thing. So we're both from the South. Our parents are probably a little bit more old-fashioned than the average bird. How do we get? And I feel like CBD is like that perfect segue into if your parents weren't deadheads or grew up around the flower and appreciate marijuana for all the goodness that it brings to my life. How do we convey the positives to our elderly folks back in Mississippi and Alabama that not only is CBD and marijuana good for you, but they're missing out by not having it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, everyone's going to need a certain level of personal education. You can be told something, but in order to actually believe it, I think that you need to do your own personal research and hopefully be able to try it firsthand. If you were to go up to, say, your grandmother who suffers from arthritis or something like that.
Can it play with Alzheimer's? Let's say, is it a proactive or is it helping curb?
I'm not aware of too much studies with the actual benefits of cannabis in Alzheimer's specifically, but I do know that there are a number of organizations that are finally being able to start these sort of studies. For the longest time, the only studies on cannabis that were made were very biased, usually by the federal government, and they were used for very specific reasons. They weren't as much for health, but for various other governmental reasons.
Fucking CIA. I know that they listen to our podcast. They contribute a lot of likes on our Instagram as well. Shout out to our federal friends. But
if I were to say, if you were trying to recommend or talk to someone who has a little bit of bias towards this industry, I would just let them know, CBD is going to be a non-psychoactive component of cannabis. It is a natural anti-anxiety, anti-inflammatory. It's similar sort of effects without any of the detrimental backfires that those sort of prescription drugs have.
Ruling's still out on that detrimental stuff.
Yeah.
So with CBD though, if you were to, let's say, drink CBD or take a CBD pill or some CBD rub, does that show up in a drug test? Can it?
That's a good question.
Yeah. So very little drug tests actually test for CBD because it isn't seen. It's federally seen as an acceptable recreational source.
But it wouldn't show up as THC.
It wouldn't show up as THC,
gotcha.
Exactly.
I won't lose my job if I get random screen that, if you're an oil and gas person or something.
Exactly,
someone that has a real
with
job.
CBD products specifically, if you have a company that doesn't approve of CBD. Obviously, that's a little bit different.
No vacancy. We're big drug testers over at our place.
Oh yeah,
I want to see what you got that I don't.
Yeah.
So do you find a lot of athletes coming in here after skiing and stuff with the CBD rub and all that?
we have a large sports community in our shop. Mostly it is with the CBD products, although we do have a couple locals in Steamboat who are very notorious. We have a runner who I'm unfortunately spacing his name right now, but he is a very, very he's a big proponent of THC with his exercising. He does big trail running, 14ers, and a lot of cross-country trips running, and he's a big proponent of using THC and CBD. I personally am a bigger proponent of using CBD as a post-workout regimen. I like to relieve the soreness and the inflammation that I've caused myself at the end of the day with CBD, and then maybe supplement that with a little bit of THC.
Hot tub.
Yeah, the hot tub. Just don't spend
tub.
too much time in the hot tub.
Yeah, they make the balls weird. When we were at the X Games, we asked McTitty and a couple other folks, Alex, Frere, and those guys, is it considered a PED if you're high as shit when you're getting on the mountain? And as a professional snowboarder in the past, you can speak to this. Would that flag y'all? I know that you can't be
it definitely
eating
is.
Adderall and stuff like that, but
get
flagged for herb?
THC is still considered a performing enhancement drug in the in the snowboard and ski industry community. Have a good one, guys.
Hey, have a great day.
Unless things have changed, I believe that THC is still a drug that is tested through the national levels of all of those sorts of sports. I always refer to Robin Williams' great spiel when he was talking about it was the 2006 Olympics, talking about the marijuana as a performance enhancement drug in the half pipe. And the only real validity in that is trying to get to the giant Snickers bar at the bottom of the half pipe.
There's a huge fucking candy bar down there. Of course it is.
God damn it, that is great.
It's
Rest
a good one.
Peace,
It's a good
Robin.
one. R.I.P.
I know he'd have been on the podcast by now if he was still around. We can definitely vouch for that. We do appreciate you, Will, joining us to shed a little light on the herbivore scene, as well as what's going on in Steamboat, so we appreciate you doing this. Obviously, like you mentioned, you give back to the community. You're here to help your locals, as well as give a couple tips. Chris, you got any other good cues that we need? Oh, yeah.
Are you going to Winter Wondergrass tonight?
Oh, yeah. I'll be at Winter Wondergrass every single night. I'll be here at the shop every morning, and then
How do you do
enjoying
that?
all the music. Oh, sleep. I don't do the late night is the unfortunate part. I let the other staff do the late night, and I just work those essential bits. But yeah, you can see us every single day at Billo Premium Cannabis. We're located just west of town at 2093 Curve Plaza, next to Ace Hardware, Arctic Liquors, Storm Peak Brewery, and Big House Burgers. We're open 7 days a week from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m., and we look forward to having everyone in here.
And then one other question. What's a event in Steamboat coming up in the summer months to look forward to? I'm not familiar with it.
So we have a lot of different events. Depending on what sort of things you're looking for, we do a number of free summer concert series at the base of Howelson Hill, which is right downtown Steamboat Springs, Colorado. We have a number of river festival activities in the spring. We have a large full half and 10K marathon that happens on June 2nd.
Kip's signing up.
Kip's signing up. I can see he's running.
He's running.
I've done a half before,
shape.
and it's the fucking worst.
We got it.
Running is
We're going to
the
get
worst.
you into shape. You're going to run
smoke cigarettes.
But honestly, there's so many different things. Steamboat is such an amazing place in the summer. A lot of people only really think of it as a winter location, but we have some of the best mountain biking trails in the state. We have so much exposed hiking. The entire Zerka Wilderness is our backyard. And
do you have anybody that's ever killed a mountain lion with their bare hands?
I don't know anyone who's killed a mountain lion with bare hands, but I have a bunch of friends who have
There's one
done
guy.
many a hunting.
Did you hear that story of the guy in Fort Collins?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's fucking wild.
We're eventually gonna find him and have him on the podcast as well. I got a lot of questions for that guy. So yeah, you do live in and I guess we continue to digress and go on tangents.
It's okay.
We live in, you have this lush backyard. What's your favorite season of? Obviously a snowboarder, but I personally find that fall is fantastic, especially in the mountain times. You can kind of get that camp. Gorgeous scenery.
Oh, yeah.
What's your season of choice?
Man, it's a pretty even split. Just like you said, late summer and midwinter. I am a snowboard addict. snowboard, chocolate are my two vices.
I like chocolates as well.
But definitely, I'm a huge late July is some of my favorite times. Just when the seasons are starting to change, all the snow is finally melted from the high tops, so you can do all those 14ers and big hikes that you want to get into.